The moment the photo opened on her computer screen, my breath stalled. It wasn't because she looked different, or younger, or unrecognizable. It was because the woman in the picture, smiling softly under a sky blooming with fireworks, looked nothing like the cold, distant, impossible-to-read boss I had known for the past year. She looked alive, vulnerable, human, and the realization that I wasn't supposed to see that version of her sent a jolt of panic through my chest. Before I could close the window, her voice drifted behind me, quiet and trembling in a way I had never heard. Do you think I'm pretty? If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of understanding someone's story before judging them, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories reach more hearts. In that instant, standing in her glass-walled office high above the city, I felt as though time folded. My boss, Clara Vance, the famously stern director of our department, had never asked anyone anything that wasn't strictly business. She was the type who moved with sharp precision, who never wasted a second, who seemed sculpted from determination and ice. And yet here she was, asking a question so raw it felt like a confession. I could sense that this moment had little to do with vanity. Her voice held an ache heavier than anything visible on the screen. But the story really began 3 days earlier, when she called me into her office after hours. The office was nearly dark, just the soft hum of the city through the windows. She told me her computer had crashed again and she needed it fixed. Tonight, if possible, because we had a massive presentation due the next morning. Even then, something in her tone felt strained, thinner than her usual clipped authority. I wanted to ask if she was all right, but she didn't give people room for personal questions. So I nodded, rolled my chair over, and got to work. As I installed updates and ran diagnostics, I noticed her sitting at her desk, hands clasped tightly, staring at nothing. She wasn't reading or reviewing notes, just sitting still. It was unsettling, like seeing a machine suddenly shut down. I didn't know what to say, so I kept typing, hoping silence would soothe whatever storm lived inside her. The next day she came to work looking like she hadn't slept, but she delivered the presentation flawlessly. No one else noticed the shadows under her eyes, or the way her hands shook slightly when she clicked the slides. No one except me. Maybe that was why, when her computer crashed again the following week, she came directly to my cubicle instead of sending an email. She stood there, clearly exhausted, barely holding herself together, and asked if I could look at it privately in her office during lunch. So I did. I didn't expect to see the photo. It wasn't labeled or hidden in a special file, just sitting in a random folder the system had opened during error recovery. I clicked it thinking it might be part of the corrupted data. And there she was, Clara, younger but unmistakably her, smiling like someone who had everything to live for. Her hand was in someone else's, though the person was cut off by the frame. A moment frozen in joy. Then came her question, and suddenly everything inside the room shifted. Her voice wasn't the voice of a boss anymore. It wasn't even the voice of the woman I had worked under for a year. It was the voice of a person who had been holding something heavy for too long. She walked slowly to the desk, her eyes glistening with something painfully close to tears, and she murmured that the photo was taken 3 years ago, on the last night she spent with her fiancé. The fireworks were from the festival he had promised they would attend every year. He passed away in an accident 2 weeks later. As she spoke, her face softened into someone I had never seen, someone who had been trying desperately to rebuild herself from pieces. She said she kept the photo to remind herself that happiness once felt possible, though she wasn't sure anymore if she could ever feel that way again. Some days she couldn't even recognize herself, and the stern persona she wore at work was the only way she knew how to survive without shattering. Hearing this, something inside me cracked. I had spent months fearing her, resenting her strictness, assuming her coldness meant she had no humanity. Now I saw the truth. She wasn't cold. She was grieving. She wasn't strict. She was trying to keep herself from falling apart in front of people who wouldn't understand. And when she whispered her question again, "Do you think I'm pretty?" I finally understood what she meant. She wasn't asking about beauty. She was asking if she still resembled the person she used to be, or if loss had erased her. I told her the truth as gently as I could, that I thought she was strong, that grief didn't steal beauty from anyone, and that maybe she didn't see it anymore because she was busy holding pain that wasn't meant to be carried alone. Something in her expression broke open. She sank into her chair, covering her face, and for the first time since I had known her, she cried, not quietly, not politely, but like someone releasing years of buried sorrow. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I simply stayed, because sometimes the greatest kindness is presence. When she finally lifted her head, she whispered that she hadn't told anyone else what she told me. Not friends, not family, not coworkers. She said she didn't trust anyone to see her without judgment. And yet, somehow, she trusted me. That moment changed everything between us. The next days at work felt different, lighter in small ways. She wasn't suddenly cheerful or healed, but she started offering faint smiles when passing by. She thanked me more often, listened more closely, and once even placed a coffee on my desk with a note that simply said, "For helping more than you know." Healing wasn't immediate, but I could feel her beginning to breathe again, little by little. One afternoon, a week later, she asked if I wanted to join her at the same fireworks festival happening again that weekend. Not as a date, not as a replacement for what she lost, but as a reminder that life could hold new memories alongside old ones. And when we stood under that sky, colors blooming loudly above us, I saw her eyes reflect light that had been missing for far too long. People think healing arrives in dramatic moments, but sometimes it begins quietly, with a computer glitch, an unexpected photo, and a question whispered through trembling hope. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these stories keep reaching people who need them. Before the ending, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below what part of the story resonated with you the most. Clara's journey reminds us that we never know the battles people hide behind perfect posture and polished words. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who are silently breaking. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment of kindness, one glimpse into their hidden hurt, to remind them that they are still seen, still valued, and still capable of finding light again. And maybe, just maybe, that reminder can change a life.